Shout out to everybody out there on White Street. You already know what it is. Salute to everybody.
What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to SteveBussaGS. We got another scorecard reaction for you guys, and you already know what it is. NIGHTWISH is up again, and I'll tell you what, we got some things we got to address. From an anthropology standpoint, the study of this culture has been a fucking gold mine. Salute to the NIGHTWISH army. I did not know what I was getting myself into. So let's recap. I want to dive into a couple of the comments that I've highlighted, and I want to respond to it. I tried my best to respond to as many of you guys as I could in the actual comments below, but I want to specifically start this video out because this is what my main goal was. My main goal was I heard about through a friend about the toxicity of the NIGHTWISH army. And I wanted to experience it for myself. I wanted to see if this was a real thing, if it was over-exaggerated. I did ask for clarification from that friend, so I'm going to elaborate on that, as well as I want to address all of these comments, some I agree with, some I didn't agree with, and kind of go from there. So let's hop into it. First and foremost, I did ask for clarification on the original statement. So the original statement was, I was in somebody else's live, and someone had made an off comment saying, you have to react to NIGHTWISH. Like, they're a huge fan base, like, they're gonna love you, you have to do it. I didn't think anything of it because I don't really do rock like that, so I just kind of like put it on a notepad, put it over here, and eventually came to revisit it. When I mentioned to a friend of mine in the Discord down below, who was Ms. Bags, she told me not to bother with it because there was a huge toxic fan base. So after seeing that that wasn't necessarily the case with my own eyes on the first view that we did for the first video, I asked her to elaborate on it, right? And here was the explanation that I was given. So she is someone who has been to 3 NIGHTWISH concerts in the United States, has been a long-term fan, and used to be really big on the rock scene. She's like a spooky goth bitch, right? So her explanation is that the rock scene in general, specifically opposed to the hip-hop scene, which I'm primarily involved in, is toxic in a way that if you listen to music outside of their genre, they consider you a poser. If you only like one type of metal, and like they will discriminate amongst themselves in that only the hardest type of metal is considered real metal, and then they start to discriminate based on how watered down it gets, and there are some bands that can do no wrong, and if anyone ever says something bad about them, then they just come out with the pitchforks and blah 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 blah. Plus, she was involved in it in real life. She wasn't involved in it over the internet where people were typing. She literally viewed the hazings and viewed the nonsense that comes along with this from being involved in that scene growing up. So just so we know, just so we're clarify where that is coming from the original comment that was made to me. All right. Now, taking that, I could say that I could definitely see that being realistic. I can definitely see there being, especially her sample size of people she actually grew up with and witnessed it is going to be infinitely smaller than the sample size that I'm getting on the internet of fans from around the world who are coming together because they want to watch people react to their favorite bands, right? So inherently it's going to be different, but I don't think anyone can discredit somebody's own individual experience. And regardless of what my findings end up being, I still can't discredit her because that was her own experience. And just because they're different, there's so many different variables between what I'm doing, what she's doing, or did. So, I take it with a grain of salt, all right? Moving on, I highlighted 2 comments particular that I want to go over with you guys. Patrick Bateman, salute to you, my friend. He says, you have to remember that the number of toxic users increases the larger the community gets. Percentage-wise, it might be the same as smaller communities, but absolutely speaking, there are a lot more of them. Sadly, those toxic people are much more vocal in the comments than the rest of us users, which makes it seem as though the whole community is that way. I agree with this 1,000,000%. And even myself, I did not know how vast the NIGHTWISH army was going to be. I put a goal of 250 likes on the video because for my videos, that shows that people are very interested in 250 likes for my viewing pleasures, mean that there's a good amount of people who are into it, right? I am already, it's been 3 days, and I am already over 500 likes on this video, right? So I myself did not understand how big it is, and I agree with this comment entirely from top to bottom. People in general are going to fixate and focus on negative comments more than they are positive. If you get 100 comments on a video, 99 of them are telling you're awesome, and the last one is telling you to go fuck yourself, that you should go and do something else for a living, you have no idea what you're talking about, the next words out of your mouth on the next video are probably going to be about that one negative comment. That's just human nature. I'm not out to change human nature, nothing like that. But I do acknowledge what he's talking about from an actual mathematic statistic. It's not any more or less toxic than other bands. You just have a 3 million fan base that's watching instead of the 3,000 fan base that's watching. So, salute to him. That is a great point that I will be making in my video, Keep It 100, when we start talking about toxic fan bases. I appreciate that. Next one is from Oliphant. If I am mispronouncing that, I apologize, but salute to you, my friend. Oliphant says, just a brief remark on how your scorecard could be updated if you react to more rock music. It seems to be optimized for hip-hop. You are 100% correct. There will always be less lyrics in a rock song, and because of the dominant verse-chorus structure, they will be more repetitive. And because the genre, their delivery will also tend to be less fluid and improvised and less rhythmically interesting, in my opinion. It doesn't really make sense to apply hip-hop standards here. Actually, for rock standards, and you've only heard one song, Thomas is generally seen as one of the great lyricists of our time. Before continuing with this, I agree with everything that he is saying here so far. Other than the fact that I do think that there holds some value of having the same baseline that you use to critique everything, because even like the whole point of having a controlled experiment, which is basically what having a scorecard is by keeping that a constant, the only variables that change in it are the actual music itself. So technically, as long as you score everything the same way and you're using the same formula and the same format to score everything, you'll still get accurate results even if they're skewed from what you would imagine to be perfect, right? So even if it's not ideal for rock music, applying the same type of score methodology across the board does have some merit. However, I'm going to get back to that because I did make some changes for you guys. On the other hand, in contrast to hip-hop, there's actual music to react to. Ouch, fan base being toxic. I like that you guys were able to take that and joke around with it, because a couple of you guys did that, and I appreciate that. I do not have a stick up my ass. I like joking around about shit just as much as the next guy does. And you guys' personalities in the comments really showing through, and I love that. So for rock music, I invite you to maybe introduce instrumental category into your scorecard to give the lyrics less weight in the scoring. Generally in rock music, the music is often created first, the lyrics follow. In rock, the music plays the center role, not the words, and should be judged first. This was an amazing comment. So what I did is I went back to the old school style of scorecards when I first started, and I don't know if you guys can really see this. Let's pull it up big for you. You see it now? All right. So this is going to be the scorecard for right now, which I've changed it to now the categories are music and instruments, vocals, lyrics and bars, sound quality, cohesiveness and atmosphere, and enjoyability. Is this perfect? Absolutely not. But it adds up to 100 points, and what I'm going to ask you guys for in the comments below is to create a scorecard that you think would be fair to use for rock and roll, given or you know what I mean, music other than hip-hop, right? Because I've seen a couple people got mad at me calling it rock and roll. Understand that I'm still ignorant to a lot of the genre, right? And I'm never intend anything to be disrespectful. But drop down in the comments what you think would be a good breakdown. Look for other people's comments first, and if you see one that you agree with, just like it. And I'm going to use the one that gets the most amount of likes as kind of like a blueprint. And if enough people are interested in me still doing these type of series, I will go and commission and get an actual PDF scorecard printed up for the rock version, the same way that I have for the hip-hop version. So thank you for that comments, and I did take action on it, which we will be using this for scoring this video. And going forward, we may even have it more professionally done. All right, so here I pinned this comment because this is from Ron Restorff. If I'm mispronouncing that, I apologize. And he gave an absolute amazing breakdown and a few perspectives that I hadn't thought of coming into this that I wanted to address on camera, because for what I was interested in, like again, I didn't come here as a Nightwish fan. I came here interested in talking to you guys and understanding the minds behind the machine that works behind the scenes, and seeing like what I could pull, like what information I can pull out of that to make my video on fan bases that much more relevant. And this was a gold mine. This was literally a gold mine. So I'm going to break this down. I'm going to read it. I'll try and read it a little quickly because it is long. But to me, this is just as important as the actual reaction itself. So this is what I want to focus on. Ron says, your friend is right. The fan base, aka the Nightwish Army, can be toxic and is becoming more so. It was one of the first fan bases that pushed the reactor model over the top because if you react to them, your view count would soar as the army rolled through. In a way, it is a victim of its own success. The band itself, like much of European metal, is forced to tour small clubs in North America because it is locked out from the larger venues by the corporate promoter who shall remain nameless. Drop in the comment who that is because I have no idea what he's talking about, but I am very intrigued by it. Have a monopoly and controls the booking of the medium to large venues. The band has been at it for over 30 years with a discography of unique and quality music. Alright, so before going further, this whole victim of its own success, Nightwish Army having like a reputation, etc., etc., etc. I did not know that. Just so we're clear, I literally had one comment of someone saying do it because it'll be dope, and one comment of somebody saying don't do it, they're assholes. That was my full like acknowledgement of it mentally. Knowing this coming into this though, and as he gets into some of his other points, I can definitely see how, from a fan base perspective, feeling like you're being used almost and people are disingenuous about wanting to enjoy the music, or not even wanting to enjoy it, but wanting to interpret the music in their own way to see if they enjoy it or not. Yeah, I can kind of see how that would result in an overall negative experience for both the consumer and the person who's creating the video. But I also think that maybe it's slightly exaggerated because the way that some of these comments, and it's not just Ron, but the way that a lot of these comments are, is like all the reactors talk to each other and it becomes like some type of network where we're like, hey, you should go and do this because this will get you stuff. Me personally, I started my reaction channel because I didn't like the other reactors that I seen. I started this because I did like, there's like 2 or 3 of them that I really messed with who I thought were genuine. But I think too many reactors kiss people's asses and have nothing of an original thought in their fucking head about it because they're afraid of getting negative comments, they're afraid of losing subs, and they just didn't keep it real. That's why I created the scorecard. So I didn't have to just be like, oh, this is trash or this is dope. But when I gave it a score and I said if I liked it or not, you could see why and where I hold value and where I thought it was good and where I thought there was room for improvement. And I also thought that it was a good opportunity to help the artists, which is why every Sunday I only do reviews, I only do reactions for channels that have less than 1,000 subs, and it's called Go Subscribe Sunday. So every Sunday I put out a bunch of videos for people who are still growing so that my viewership can go and view new people because other channels weren't doing that. They only care about the subs. I'm not getting subs off of the guys with 38 subscribers who are putting out music that I do every Sunday. I do it for the reverse effect so that my viewership can see them. Maybe there's a gem out there, then they go and like that. So I can see where that would become an issue. Let's hop back into this. The fan base loves the band because you have some of the best musicians ever in a single band with a composer, Tumas, on the keyboard, who is a genius. The army knows that the band is not for everyone, and as long as the reactor is respectful in their opinions, by large, they believe in live and let live. The idea of being respectful in a breakdown is something that I am still coming to terms with. So I never have the intention of being disrespectful. But I also believe that if I think something's trash, I should be allowed to say something's trash. And I don't know if I'm right or wrong about that. If you check the link below in the description, I have a video called Keeping It 100 Emotions of a Reactor, where part of what I talk about is the like forced language almost, like what language should be used and shouldn't be used. And I haven't come up with my own like philosophy on that, if I'm being honest with you. It's still something that I'm dealing with right now. And I definitely lean more on staying away from the stronger language when it comes to disliking something, but I don't eliminate it entirely because at the end of the day, like, my opinion of something being that bad isn't any less valid than someone's opinion of it being amazing, and I don't know. Something that I deal with, but it's definitely interesting to hear that coming in from a perspective as a collective. You know what I mean? Like, this is the feedback that I've been looking for to help me formulate my own values and morals when it comes to reacting. So I do look at this like a job. I look at this like a huge just journey that I'm embarking on. and I'm still new at it. Like yesterday was actually my 3-month anniversary of reacting, so like I'm only a shell of how good I expect to be 2 years from now, 3 years from now. I still have a lot of learning to do myself with that. Keep going. However, if you make fun of the band because they don't fit your narrow parameters of what you like, hold up your puppy and ignore the music, pick up your phone to text in the middle of the reaction, or any of the numerous other things the Army has seen that tell a reactor is mailing it in, it will quickly become toxic, since the bullshit detector has been refined by the Army. Without going any further, I want to talk about this. So, you guys, hopefully you have Tinder wherever you're from, right? I love that first beginning of a relationship where you start talking to a girl or whatever you're into, and you get to the point where you start showing each other your music tastes. There is nothing that sends me into more of a rage than if I'm trying to get somebody to listen to music and they pick up their phone to text somebody, or they try to talk to me while the music is playing, etc., etc., etc. It's why I don't talk. Like, I see reactors who talk and comment on the music without pausing it and just like talk over it, and it makes me want to just fucking choke. Like, my head explodes from that. So I'm on your side with that one 100%. I may not be 100% on the language because I'm still figuring out if I think we should be able to be disrespectful or not, if that's how we genuinely feel. But as far as this goes, I'm 100% on board. That shit infuriates me, and I support your fucking willingness to go and ridicule somebody for that. The fun part is when the reviewer gets called on it because they were flamed mercilessly and they get upset. Funny how it's okay for them to disrespect the band, putting it all on the line for the audience and the fans that love them, and yet when it is returned for their work, it is somehow mean and insulting. I agree with this too. If I'm going to call somebody trash or I'm going to say something, then I don't delete any of the comments. Like, for those of you, I tried to respond to everybody, and some of the comments weren't coming up, and somebody did mention, like, hey, I can't get my response to stick. That wasn't me deleting anything. I never delete comments. I had one person that I'm not going to highlight because I don't want everyone to go rush them. Someone like had something ignorant to say. I said, suck my dick, and I moved on, right? I'm not going to delete it, though, because he's just as much, entitled to tell me to shut the fuck up as I'm entitled to tell him to suck my dick, and I think that that's all 100% on the up and up. Freedom of speech and whatnot, right? So yeah, if you can't stay in the fucking heat, then stay out of the kitchen. If you can't take somebody insulting you, don't insult somebody else. I support that 100%. So you haven't lost me there. He continues, just going to be blunt here, there are usually over 5 new Nightwish reactions every day with 1 or 2 first-time reactors. The word is out among the fan base that in the reactor discussion groups and other networks that if you want to build up your view count, react to Nightwish. So again, I don't necessarily agree with this because I've never experienced it. Maybe I'm just not fucking cool enough to be inside these groups and shit like that. But even if like other reactors were to reach out to me and try to get me to join like some little reactor cult, I can't imagine me being into it because my whole creating of my channel was supposed to be counterculture anyway, in that I don't like what is happening with everybody else. And that's if I had another reactor that was out there and I liked all of their opinions and the way that they did shit, I wouldn't be here right now. I would just watch that reactor and I would be content with that. So I don't know how exaggerated this is or isn't. And I'm just going to leave it at that. So yeah, to me it's not real, but that doesn't mean that it's not. I just think that this one may have been a little bit exaggerated. Individuals that upload beauty tips, fashion ideas, travel logs, and recently one that wants to preach the word of God suddenly discovered the band. Looking at your other video counts, the best you have is 5.1 thousand. You will probably be at 10,000 with this within 2 weeks. So here's another point to point out with this. We don't really care about the views so much. So like most of my videos get copyright claimed anyway, which the Nightwish one also did, which I'm cool with showing you on screen. I didn't change this back yet. Let's change this back real quick. Yeah, the views don't matter so much. The sub count absolutely matters because part of what I want to do is create a community that follows me for me and not necessarily just for the band. And then I can do things like Go Subscribe Sunday, which are dope. And I can discover new artists and shit like that and put new fans onto them. So like I try to get my South Africa audience to watch Nightwish. And I try to get Nightwish to watch the music from the UK that I cover and so on and so forth. So that this becomes a platform to discover new music and step outside of your normal bounds. The actual view count doesn't matter. The sub count does matter. And there's another thing I wanted to comment on here too. So, to the Army, your first reaction at your warehouse will be greeted with some suspicion until you prove that you choose NIGHTWISH for something other than view count. So, I didn't choose it for view count. I chose it for comments. I wanted the opportunity to talk to you guys and get into the NIGHTWISH community, which I got. But I was also upfront about that and forward about that. I wasn't like sneaky about it. I thought it was important to be like, hey, here's how this rap reactor suddenly stumbled upon this rock band, because I can see how that would be like, something's a little off here. Your review is authentic with good reasoning behind all of your opinions. Thank you, sir. Time will only tell if the band will grow on you, but I can guarantee your social experiment with the fan base will be interesting. Agreed. When the original lead singer, Tara, I think it's Tara, if it's not, correct me, was fired from the band, it did not sit well with the fan base at that time, and the band has never been forgiven by some. So be aware that they routinely downvote anything with her in it. Now, this is something that I think you should change about how you explain things to people in the future. So, let me explain this to you, all right? The way that the YouTube algorithm is, all right, for the YouTube SEO, search engine optimization, YouTube itself does not count thumbs up or thumbs down any differently from each other. They both register as an interaction, all right, which is seen as a positive thing in the community. So I don't, like, you might put somebody off with a comment of saying like, hey, you're going to get a couple hundred thumbs down, and that might scare them away from NIGHTWISH. I think it would be way, way more beneficial for you to explain that any type of activity whatsoever on your thing, like even that comment telling me to go fuck myself, that is still making my video more popular and registering as an interaction, which is why I don't delete the comments. I'd much rather go back and forth with some asshole and make my video look like it's getting more interactions than I would delete it and take away from that. And I think if you just change this, like, instead of so be aware that they routinely downvote, which is strong language that could scare a new reactor away, let them know that, like, hey, don't worry, even the downvotes count for you, so let those idiots that press dislike continue to do their thing and press dislike. It only is going to help you. Which is just something that was just like a big point that I wanted to point out if you weren't aware of that. When you hit around 50K, about 100 of those downvotes will be from them. So take them into account with your experiment. I usually leave recommendations to the others, but in this case, I would suggest you follow the standard ones. Cool, which we are. Yeah, I appreciate you, Ron. That was an amazing comment. I've talked a lot. I'm sorry if I bored you, but for me, this part of my channel is what I wanted to get into anyway. So we're right at fucking, this is a whole reaction already, 22 minutes, my bad. Let's get into the actual NIGHTWISH reaction now. If somebody wants, you can leave this timestamp in the comments below for those who aren't interested in my conversation portion of this. I'm sure they will appreciate that, but I'm going to get into the reaction right now. Full screen this bad boy. Let's go, let's go. Alright. Alright, so we got a pretty big instrumental build up in the beginning of it. The only person that I know that does this is Metallica. Like I said, I have very minimal information as far as rock goes. It's interesting. It definitely starts to get you in the zone. Someone did comment that as somebody who normally breaks down lyrics, my pausing it to give commentary may take you out of like the vibe of the show. I apologize if you feel that way, but at the end of the day, it is a reaction channel, so it's kind of like a give and take. Like it's expected to be a part of it. So we've now been through 3 different beat changes, or whatever that's called, transitions, instrumental transitions, before we've even gotten into the song yet. It's pretty interesting. Okay, so this is fucking... She sounds like she's out of like an 80s pop song all of a sudden. Like, you went through the 3 different transitions, which was all pretty rock and roll. I think the first one was definitely more of the fantasy style music that I was talking about last time. But then hearing her come in and sounding like an 80s pop star was very interesting. Like, it catches you off guard almost, you know what I mean? So I have a question here. This is interesting. I seen a lot of comments that were like, Floor, who's the lead singer here, is like an excellent showman when it comes to putting on a show. To me, I didn't understand this because as far as I can tell, she didn't do anything but stand there and sing. Whereas like the concert I've been in, you know what I mean? Like the main people who are singing, like Kid Rock's running from one side of the stage to the other, interacting with the audience and everything like that. Whereas this is more of like, she gives me vibes of more of like a classical performance. Like she stands there center stage. She doesn't have the theatrics to kind of take away from her voice. It's really kind of like when she opens her mouth, you shut up and listen, as opposed to like a great performer. Like, I'm not sure how you differentiate that. You know what I mean? Like, maybe it's like in how we define the performance of it. Because if we're just talking about the vocals, then obviously this sounds angelic. But like, I'm not sure when people are like, she's a good stage performer. I'm not sure what is meant by that. Or I just haven't gotten to the videos yet where she's actually has some type of choreography along with what else is going on. When she hits the word memory, it's like, it does. It sends like chills up your spine. And it sounds like something else too. She's giving me some type of nostalgia with how she says memory that's making me like think of another song or something like that. It's very interesting. But sonically, it sounds so good. Like, when in rap, when you hear somebody that completes like a really good rhyme scheme and is able to hit that same inflection on all of the rhymes the entire way through, it leaves you with like this satisfying feeling, like the line ended properly when it was supposed to. When she finishes off with memory there and she completes the sound at the end of her singing, it gives you that kind of like, this is complete, this line was complete well feeling. You're no longer waiting in anticipation for like the next bar. She like cuts it off really, really well. Seeing a drummer smash on those cymbals, or some whatever the fuck they're called, on the little drum boys, and then see this man just very gently caress these chimes. That was pretty interesting. I fuck with that.
Siren from the deep came to me, sang my name, my love.
Alright, so before we continue with this, I'll bring it back. I like, in this one, there's that, like, the lyrics are definitely a little bit more cohesive. She's talking about all of the blue, all of the water imagery, and then the first type of person that she's talking about is a siren, which is also mythologically a water-based creature. I do like the theme and how the theme is being kept up. It's not that Storytime didn't have a theme that was kept up, it's that I really didn't feel like there was enough language used to be able to say this was a good scheme. Whereas with this, there's already been enough different language to say that I like the imagery that's being used.
Siren from the deep came to me, sang my name, my Lord. Still I write my songs about the dream of mine, worth everything I may ever be. Child will be born again, that siren carried him to me.
Alright, this is putting me in like, what the fuck was it? Like Kevin Sorbo Hercules like style. Like I still get put in that fantasy mode where this now sounds like the intro to a TV series, like the Game of Thrones beat in the beginning, and how like that same music, whenever you hear the Game of Thrones music in the beginning, it like puts you into that. That's what this like cadence that she's using, it's putting me into like intro music into a show of fantasy descent.
First of them true loves, sitting on the shoulder of an angel without care for love
Alright, you know what I've noticed too? I like the trade-off of where the focal point should be. You'll notice that this guy, when she started singing, my man here stopped playing altogether. He walked by, he was like touching other people on the shoulders, like making sure everybody was good, nobody needed water or nothing like that. As if he was so good on the guitar that it would have taken away from focusing on Floor's voice. And then you see Floor kind of like dip into the background, and now he's in the foreground as if to as if to tap out and tag team out to give the other the opportunity to shine. Did my man have earplugs in at a concert? What are you doing, my guy? This is why I added atmosphere to the scorecard too. Like, I really do think that there's something to be said about being able to set the ambience. Like, just to note that. What is that? So what is that noise? Is like it sounds like a violin or something like that. I don't know what that is, but that sounds super fucking dope right here. That dun, 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 dun. That sounds really fucking cool. Hold on, I need that. Alright, so she's moved away almost entirely from all of the water imagery, but still kind of staying in the same mythos. Like still talking about, is that going to cause some problems? I call it Adam and Eve mythology. It is. It's Christian mythology. But, like, it's interesting to still see in the same vein of things. That was a shitty ad placement.
Zero sugar, still Smirnoff. I'm floating.
I will say there's never a bad time to see Dave Bautista in a Hawaiian shirt, but that was rather poor ad placement, I must say. So here we're seeing that she is getting some of the crowd participation and stuff like that that's going in. This is Final Fantasy VIII Shinra music. Or Shinra's Final Fantasy VII. This is Final Fantasy VIII fucking Idea, Queen Idea music. so now that she's doing the windmill, the hair thing, not quite the windmill, but actually like getting into it, I like the contrast here. I like the last one, she started off like that and then got into the song. I like that she's more composed in the beginning, and as the build up and as the song and everything is going out, she becomes a little bit more unhinged, a little bit more unhinged, a little bit more unhinged as it goes on, until she's like completely enthralled in it come the end. I like that. There you have it. Nightwish Ghost Love Score. Alright, let's pull up the scorecard. Let's break it down. Let's see how much we really liked it. First time doing this scorecard, so bear with me. And make sure we're all good here. Yes, sir. Alright, so we are still up in the air. We're up in the air for Nightwish. They're 2 for 2. I did enjoy this. And they got scored on the first one, so in order for me to be a fan of you on this channel, you got to catch at least 3. Right now they're 2 for 2, and it looks like Romanticide was the next most requested one for the third one. Just so you guys know, what I like to do too, once I've gotten into a band, I want the opportunity to like go and react to things of them that no one else really has. So like, it's cool to recommend me the popular ones. I think it makes for more interesting and entertaining content to go and score and listen to the stuff that's harder to find on the internet. So if you have more like a, hey, no one ever reacts to this, do this one, those are the ones I want to do going forward. Also, I'm probably going to make this like a once a week Nightwish Wednesday type thing. So if you guys want the Nightwish Wednesday, just leave me like a hashtag down there, hashtag Nightwish Wednesday, and I will do this once a week, since it looks like you guys are going to crush the like goals of whatever I give you. So if you guys just want it regardless once a week, I have no problem making it a staple on this channel if it's something you guys are interested in. Target audience for this, yeah, I like this. Proper setting for this. Again, this is still like, this is still fantasy music for me. I do a lot of D&D sessions and stuff like that. I can definitely see this set in the ambiance for like leading up to like the last boss room type fight. That's definitely the vibe that I get from this. Ghostwriter. Did I get, who did I feel like I literally just got a little Final Fantasy VIII vibe for that one part, but I didn't really get anything past that. I haven't listened to enough of the music to give out something else that's like an intelligent comparison. Music or instruments? So here's the good thing. The good thing about changing the way that I score this is it's dope for y'all because it gives the band a more fair playing field based on the type of genre of music they're doing. The bad part is I no longer have 180 videos of experience to compare this to see like how I think this should be dropped down. Music or instruments, like if 25 out of 25 is the greatest thing that you've ever seen anyone ever do, and it's just like on par with the best of the best, like you have to then scale it back and figure out where you would put it. I think it's super dope. I thought it was definitely cool. I like how, like I said, they were playing where she would sing and then the guitarist would go up. I like that the guy on the drums had enough wherewithal and like control to be slamming down on the drum set and then lightly caress the chimes. Obviously shows a lot of control and skill there. I don't know how to score this. Like I have nothing, there's no critique that I've seen that I didn't like something, right? There was not like, I wish that guitar riff was a little less scratchy. Like I don't have anything like that. So I have no choice but to give this a 25 because I also like the little violin, or I think it was actually the pianist. That might have actually been Thomas with that one part that I pointed out that I said I liked the way that it sounded. Vocals at a 25. They said that this was the one to go to see her really like show off her vocals. I think she did, and I think it was dope. But I don't think that it's like as good as they made it out to be in the comment section. Like, I don't think she really got a chance to like snap off with her range. With the idea that I think she can do better, just given what I've heard in little spurts, like especially at the end, like when you hear her belt out those last big notes and shit like that, like that's incredible. Do I think it's the best that she's capable of? Probably not. I would probably give it a 23. Maybe like a 23. I definitely don't want to... I don't want to take anything away from her, but I want to leave opportunity to be amazed in the future too. Does that make sense? Like if everything's a 25, then nothing's a 25. It's kind of like that. Whereas really, at some point you have to be like, cool, this is the 25 out of 25. This is the greatest thing I've ever heard. This is what a 25 sound like. And then you kind of have to go back and readjust your previous scores. Whereas right now, I don't have a lot of things to compare it to, so everything just sounds fucking amazing. Lyrics, out of 15, I would probably give this a 10, to be honest with you. Again, the lyrics didn't impress me. I think it was cool and cohesive. I think that they made sense for the imagery and stuff that she was gonna that she was going for the song. But again, none of the lyrics stuck with me. Nothing is something I would want on a shirt. Nothing is something I would get tattooed on my body. Nothing made my face scrunch up lyrically where I had to stop and bring it back. But it also made sense in and of what it was of itself was still dope. I would give it 10 out of 15. Sound quality, as far as I can tell, 15 out of 15. It's a live show too. It's not like we're rating studio quality with that. Cohesiveness and atmosphere is a 10 out of 10. So cohesiveness has to do, again, what I was talking about in terms of, like, does the music match the lyrics, right? Yes, she gave us a fantasy-sounding music, and then she gave us fantasy lyrics, so I think that's cohesive. She started off with the water symbolism, and she continued with the imagery as she went into the stuff about the siren. That was all cohesive. She then later transitioned mythos, but still was, like, on that kind of, like, fantasy, legendary type vibe. Like, it was all cohesive. Atmosphere, they control the atmosphere almost entirely. Did you notice that, like, when they wanted to give, like, that time to, like, recharge or whatever, where they left the stage, like, even the drummer wasn't, like, sitting in his seat so you could see him, but, like, he was, like, ducked down and away from it. Like, they control the atmosphere perfectly. I don't even know that I could critique anything about that. So 10 out of 10. Enjoyability, I would probably give it a 9. It would go on a playlist. There's no reason it wouldn't go on a playlist, but it would go on a playlist that I would put for while I was playing video games. That's when I would listen to this music personally. This would be like, could you imagine doing like a fighting tournament with that crazy build-up in the background, you know what I mean, while you're on the sticks? That's what I get out of this. So that's my score, 92 out of 100. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Drop down in the comments below. This is based on a new scorecard. So more importantly, how would you create a scorecard with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, with 6 categories? All right, with 6 categories. Enjoyability is worth 10 points is the only thing that I'm not willing to budge on. Everything else is kind of like up for interpretation. How would you go and break it down? And more importantly, what would like the levels be? So that would be awesome if you guys give me some feedback on that. As always, I love y'all. I appreciate y'all for coming and checking me out. I'll catch y'all in the next one.